Hello, folks, and welcome to another Deep Space Nine commentary. This time it's Season 2, Episode 3, The Siege, the third part of a three-parter. And I am joined again by Fatheree. Thank you for being here.
Howdy, howdy. Thank you for letting me watch along with you.
All right, let's jump right into it. We watched the other two parts so long ago. I'm gonna need the recap.
We watched those last year. That was
Yeah, but
so
that was the first one of
2021.
2022. Yeah, it's pretty cool. All right, I've got my copy queued up. We're gonna do 3, 2, 1, and then go. All
Okay.
right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Last time on Star
Deep
Trek,
Space Nine.
on Deep Space Nine, where the hell she says. Star Trek's first three-parter ever.
Yes. This feels like the exact recap from the last time.
Well, yeah, they have to recap that first episode again.
Okay, it's gonna change now because this is the end of the first episode. Frank Langella is good at playing villainous scum.
It's kind of very like Game of Thronesian, isn't it? Where you have like all these different characters with their own like political agendas, and there's a lot of like shades of gray.
Yeah.
It's like I continuously am reminded why so many people consider Deep Space Nine a show ahead of its time, because of stuff like this.
And if at this time in the during season 2, if they had more freedom, they probably would have done like the whole season with serialized stories. Probably not like one the whole way through, but like the whole season was just 2 and 3 parters.
That's
Unless
what
you
they
have an idea for an episode, but
that was going to be the plan with Enterprise, and we only saw 1 year of that in season 4. But yeah, so basically they've gotten the order. The Federation must pull out of Deep Space Nine. There is a coup on Bajor. The Bajoran extremists, the Bajoran supremacists, they want all aliens gone. They have taken over the government. The Federation says, okay, they want us gone. We got to go. That's who the Bajoran government is now.
and
That
isn't it
prime
true that the
directive can't
Cardassians are
interfere.
selling them weapons, but the Circle
Secretly, yeah.
doesn't know it because the Cardassians like want conflict again?
Yeah, the Cardassians sold weapons to the Circle so that those extremists could take over Bajor, drive the Federation away, and then the Cardassians could come back and just kick the shit out of the Bajorans again.
Diabolical.
Yeah, I like that. I like that scheme. We're gonna give weapons to our enemies on Bajor because in the end it'll actually weaken them and allow us to strike.
Sounds like many Earth governments throughout the years.
Oh yeah, yeah. This is like the CIA does shit like this all the time.
I love the whole spirit of this meeting. It's like, you've all made Bajoran friends in one way or another. We care about these people, and they're all like gung ho to stay there and join him. But
Yeah, it's funny because season 3 also opens with Cisco explaining how he feels more at home at the station than he had before.
it is his destiny.
Yeah,
Like
he is
literally.
of Bajor. Yeah, so basically he's been ordered to evacuate the station. He's like, I'm going to evacuate, but very slowly, so that I can be here to fight. You know, the funny thing is that the next episode after this, they have to evacuate the station again for completely different reasons.
Why is that? Remind me.
It opens where they had just like evacuated the station for there was some temporary situation like I don't like an ion storm or something like that maybe, and they were like, okay, we have to get everyone off the station for a little bit. It's actually when John Glover takes over the station with Tim Russ as a Klingon and tries to kidnap the Dax symbiote.
Oh, that one. Invasive procedures.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a good episode. I like
It was
that.
a good one. It's a very tight bottle show. Bring on a few guest stars. Good story
John
though.
John Glover is a great actor. He's
Yeah,
I love him in Gremlins too.
I need to watch Gremlins too. I haven't seen that in so long.
That is a secretly brilliant satirical film that people just don't realize it because it's like so in your face with the grossness of the Gremlins and just the zaniness of the movie. You can't really take it seriously, but
I kind of liked it as a kid, but then as I grew up, I was like, that one's probably not worth rewatching because I remembered how weird and stuff it was.
it has layers though. There's like commentary in there about society at the time, like the obsession with like all the cable channels that were coming in, and
Yeah,
it was just all about keeping people glued to the screen and like never facing the world.
and bastardizing like a lot of the good art out there. Like I remember there's
Yes,
like a
yeah,
promo. It's like Casablanca now in color and with a happy ending,
yeah, exactly.
which is a pretty funny gag. I thought it was funny as a kid, but remembering it now, I'm like, I think about that all the time now. This beautiful promenade set. I need to go visit a recreation of this so bad. Maybe VR will allow me to do that someday.
I don't know if they'd ever bring back Deep Space Nine, but if they did, they couldn't. I mean, they'd have to. It would have to be something like superior to live up to the name of the original. But it's sad though. Like they immediately just tore down the set as soon as it was like they didn't even think. I know it's stage space and they need it for other things, but like, did they ever think like, what if we can find a place and move all this promenade stuff over there and like make copious amounts of money every year, having people come in and visit it and
Yeah.
like go to like the bar and stuff. I mean,
Yeah, I
they're
mean,
doing that with Star Wars now, but
they
I
kind of
don't think.
considered doing something like that, but I guess they weren't too keen on it. Because, yeah, they tore down the set, like, immediately when they were finishing shooting the final episode. I think Armin Shimmerman, one of the actors, I think it was Armin, one time said that he never went to look at it when they were, like, deconstructing it because he said it would break his heart if he saw the promenade being dismantled before his eyes.
It's like somebody tearing down like your childhood home or something.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I feel like I grew up on Deep Space Nine. I feel like these were my big brothers with Jake and Nog.
Better. Coop. He's trying to say Coop de Tat. That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, Aaron Eisenberg. He did such a great job playing like playing an alien. Like he's convincing. Like just even the early days when he's like, a lot of the Ferengis would enunciate their T's. I think they abandoned that at one point, like better and human. I think they've always said human.
Yeah, they toned it down. They kept human because that's just a little, I guess, iconic
Yeah.
from Next Generation, but people always hate on Keiko so much, but I think she is she does not deserve all the hate that I mean, yeah, like sometimes she's at odds with Chief O'Brien, but it's she's never like an unreasonable, you know.
People always want to say the wife who's always saying to the hero husband like O'Brien, because he's a hero dude. He's one of those characters who like I'm gonna stay behind and fight kind of guy.
Yeah.
He's not the realistic, reasonable person who's like, no, I'm just gonna stay with my family because I'll probably get killed. But I find Keiko, they didn't really get too much newer character. Basically, a lot of time we get with her is her not being so pleasant. And I have a perfect impression of Keiko that I do. And it's just this. It's just one word. Miles!
Yeah.
It's that kind of tone. Like Harry Mudd's android wife. Harcourt!
Keiko's a little bit better looking and more pleasant in general, I think, than that wife android.
Keiko, yeah, she's a lovable person if you just look past the unfortunate amount of screen time they give her, just kind of nagging. And that's true. I mean, she's not like that all the time in the show. It's just like I see how people are like, she's always like telling him what to do. I mean, well, she is his wife, and they do have a child, and she's concerned for his safety. So there you go.
Jadzia just mentioned her previous host, Tobin. He was like the mechanical one, the engineering one. Not much of a sex life. But that's the first mention of Tobin Dax, who will eventually possess O'Brien when we get to that episode.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But all the different Dax hosts, the previous Dax hosts, the writer's room had forgotten to like keep track of that. And luckily, our friend Larry Nemechek was keeping up with all of that for them. And they were able to call Larry, and he was like, oh, yeah, in this episode you mentioned this host, and then this episode you mentioned this one. She said she's been a father this many times and a mother this many times.
Larry Nemechek is all over Center Seas. I'm like 8 episodes in now.
Oh, yeah, he's in it a lot.
And he knows everything. Like, he's just read everything.
Yeah, he's an incredible resource. I lean on him as a resource.
And he has a YouTube channel.
He does. Everyone should
He does about the same as
it.
me, which is like unfortunate because it's like, wow, you're like the main guy with the track knowledge, and he can pretty much speak on anything. I don't listen to him like a lot, but when I've tuned in, I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, he does his Truckland
really
Tuesday streams every Tuesday.
Yeah, and it's like not a lot of views or anything. It's weird. Remember when Michael Chabon had a YouTube? I don't know if he still does, but Michael Chabon had a YouTube channel where he just read children's books.
This is the first time I've ever learned of that.
And he looked like he just smoked a bowl right before he got on camera.
Maybe he did. No, let me ask you, PJ. Linalis is giving his speech here. You know, he's stepping up and being the leader the people need. Look at stupid ass Morn in the background in a second. You see Morn getting hyped. Like,
Oh, really?
yeah, like he's not even Bajoran, but he falls behind Linalis. You see him back there listening?
Yeah.
Look, he's really buying into it. You see him raising his fist up? Dumbass Morn. I love that.
It's funny because he can't express like on his face at all.
Yeah, but you still get that impression though, don't you? That he's just like really drawn into it. That's almost like Doug Jones acting. It's just like eyes and body language, and that's it.
Yeah, eyes, mouth movement, and gestures, and like the way he carries himself. It's just all the personality just shines through that
Yeah.
makeup.
To be fair, it's a lot easier to do that if you're playing Morn than Saru because it's limited range required for what Morn has to do, but still, it's just as effective.
There were other sci-fi shows back in the day that had aliens that incorporate like a combination of makeup and animatronics, and I always wanted to see that in Trek. Just the use of just some animatronics. Which, by the way, if CG hadn't have taken over in the film industry, that technology would have went far.
Yeah, yeah. Trek kind of skipped over the animatronics, didn't
Yeah,
we just went straight into the CGI.
Michael Westmore. I was watching Rocky 3, and I see his name in the credits. I'm like,
Oh yeah,
oh, I never knew that, or
yeah.
I never looked it up.
His name's in the credits on Rocky One. They needed a guy to create. Stallone had a prosthetic with to make Rocky look like he had a broken nose.
Yeah, and if you look back on those movies, not a lot of movies showed swelling on the face and stuff in fights. People would just be bloody,
Yeah,
and that kind of makeup work was like really intricate because you had to blend it perfectly, or else it just looked like putty on somebody's face.
yeah. Michael Westmore, best in the biz. I miss his design sensibilities in Star Trek now because they do like these really neat elaborate aliens on like Discovery and stuff. But the thing that
And versions
Westmore
of classic aliens as well.
the thing that Westmore I think always was best at is when he had like these good very alien looking aliens like the Ferengi, like the Cardassians, like the Jem'Hadar. He always knew where to put the prosthetics that would still give the actors a bunch of freedom. With as much prosthetics that are on Armin Shimmerman's face, he's still able to be very expressive. And with
It's
as
like
much stuff as they glue on to every Cardassian, they always you always feel like there's still like there's no limitations added to what they're able to do with their faces.
yeah, the main thing that's restricted on the actor's face in Westmore's days were the eyebrows, mainly. But I heard him one time talk about how he wanted to leave like the mouth and the lower face area free. Like you could still put things there, but like nowadays it's these masks are like over their lips and like their whole mouth. So even their mouth movements are a little. It's a kind of like everybody's like Odo now. Like everybody has the Rene Auberjonois kind of makeup job, where it's like a complete covering. The From the Ferengi to the Klingons to the Andorians and now the Orions.
PJ, what do you think of the Paluku, that the Bajoran spider thing that inhabits the moons of Bajor?
Yeah, it's a silly little puppet.
I kind of like it though. It is silly, but
Do you remember the
speaking
days
of animatronics, that was an animatronic in Star Trek.
Oh, there you go. It sometimes in the early days of CG on television. I don't know. I wouldn't say this far back, but maybe like 90, getting into 94. Yeah, this is 94, right? It's going into 94 anyway. But they used to attempt to use CG along like Hercules and Xena kind of did it. And it's
Yeah,
like, oh no, you're not ready. This is not ready for TV yet. You don't
yeah,
have the budget to
Buffy
make
and
this
Angel too. Like,
Yeah,
I guess by the time they were into Angel, they had gotten better. But there's some CGI in like season 3 of Buffy and like a big dramatic. Actually, like the season finale, it's supposed to be like a really big deal, and
yeah.
I remember seeing that for the first time, and just being like, "Oh, are they serious?"
The thing, the thing about DS9 and other Trek in general, back when I was growing up, is that it seemed like the more realistic sci-fi because it didn't go too far into certain places. Like maybe the fact that there was not a lot of animatronic kind of things lent itself to more. It made it more believable, basically. And once you got over the fact that all the aliens kind of just look like humans, but a little different, like you could really buy into it. And they didn't go too far with the CG in the early days of DS9. And I remember, out of all the TV shows that ever existed, DS9 and Voyager had the best CGI that was around. Like Sequest had some of it, but it wasn't nearly as good.
They definitely planned on using Bejor a lot more on Deep Space Nine in these early episodes. But they got like feedback that people were not as interested into the stuff, and when they created the Dominion, they really started leaning heavily into the Dominion stuff. And I gotta say, like, I prefer that, but some of the Bajoran stuff, I think it's overlooked. There is interesting stuff here. Like this the Circle trilogy. I hold
I
up as
was
an example,
never
like
interested in.
Bajoran politics being very interesting.
I liked Ro Laren, but I didn't. I wasn't into their culture as a kid, like on TV. Like I got that complaint, but now it's like you actually see that it's just actually pretty good storytelling, despite like what species it's about. It's a diabolical political thriller. You know what I mean? Where it's a little melodramatic with like, but it's fun. Like I like this little adventure that they're going on here.
Yeah, and the ship is kind of cool.
I could see this as a movie, like the plot of a movie. Like it would probably be a little too political or intellectual, I suppose, for like regular
It
audience. It
would it
would
would
be
need bigger action set piece. Like the rescue at the
yeah.
beginning to get Linalis would need to be a little bigger, and then the big climax here would need to be a little bit bigger. But yeah, you could easily restructure it, give it a bigger budget, and make it into a movie.
No offense to the production designers, but that ship looks so janky. Looks like it was just
Yeah, but it's kind of supposed
constructed.
to look like this, little lame ship. Not supposed to look like any, badass top of the line thing.
Well, there you go. They achieved their goal visually.
That baseball, I love that baseball on Cisco's desk. If I could have
People love
any
touching it,
prop,
don't they? They're
yeah. Oh
always
yeah,
picking it up.
Ducat loves having his grubby little fingers all over it. At the end of the show, the actual final scene of Deep Space Nine is the baseball on the desk and Kira being in command of the station. Spoilers.
No. I love that. I love how he explains that. He likes the rations.
Yeah, he loves talking about the Cardassian War that he fought in. But they have to remind the audience that he has that history. Oh yeah, this is back when they still don't like each other. This is before they become best buddies.
No, looking back on this now, it's a great start to the second season because the first season's a little wobbly. It's still good, but like you get a real sense of camaraderie in these 3 episodes between the characters. It's a weird shot of Odo.
Yeah, They
He
should have
looks like
added some
Ghost Dad.
CGI goo like around like the perimeter of him, on the paneling of that wall, just to make it more clear what's going on and make it look a little less weird.
When the show eventually gets its whole like 4K treatment, eventually somewhere in the 2030s, I'm wondering how they'll do certain visual effects.
I think they're just gonna upscale the existing stuff with AI software, and then you go in and like tweak that as they need to.
Well, that's funny. Just like popping out of everywhere.
Yeah, they kind of Home Alone the place. They had set up a trap for them.
It's a trap. That was uncalled for.
The exterior of that ship looks pretty cool. It's just the interior yeah, it's like very. It's just small. It's not that it looks cheap. It's just that it's small. You know. I mean, it is cheap because of how small it is, but
Visually they do great for what they had in the 90s. This was the top of the line sci-fi. I don't remember anything being as sleek. Like the ship design, everything about the TNG era, like how it's like just like the Cadillac smooth version of the TOS era. And then you get the alien ships like the Cardassian. I just recently watched Center Seat. They were talking about not only all the ships, like the Enterprise, the Defiant, but like the Cardassian ships, and how a Ferengi ship was modeled after like a dome fish mixed with like the pincers of an airwig. I'm like, okay.
yeah, to create that kind of horseshoe thing with a pincher mouth. I actually always liked the Ferengi. I thought that Andy Probert was really good at designing alien ships. He also did the D. Deradix Romulan Warbird, I believe.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of the Galaxy class, but I liked his alien ships.
So on set, when they're shooting those things, a light is shining because it has to be, right? Because it slightly illuminates the surrounding, not like it noticeably, but you do see that, and then flashes. All this was wouldn't this have been the most expensive part of the episode, the phaser stuff?
It's really hard for actors playing this when you go and like aim your phaser because you don't do anything to shoot. You're just like pointing it,
Yeah.
and you have to pretend the phaser beam is there. And there's so many times actors talk about like, oh yeah, it's really hard to make like the shooting sound effect with your mouth and going like pew pew pew.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does get a little silly, I guess, with Odo becoming a tripwire and stuff, but
Odo can be anything. It's funny how he can like be something as small as a rat.
yeah. And then like when he turns into a bird, he's light enough that he can fly. The whole reason why birds can fly is they're very light. They have
that
hollow
always
bones. They're kind of lean.
Odo's kind of powers signal to me that there are shapeshifters not only in like the general sci-fi universe, but in Star Trek itself. And he's like the reason they're considered gods is because of these like unexplainable kind of transformations. And like how does one being like Odo train themselves to do all of this stuff? Like,
Yeah. Well,
they just don't know how to do it. They have to be taught. And there are episodes dealing with that.
yeah, and how Odo's actually not very good at it. He's actually a pretty bad shapeshifter. He can't impersonate humanoids.
Mm.
He can do animals pretty good, though.
Some people say you shouldn't curse in Star Trek, but if they had the opportunity back then, when she sprays that thing and it runs out, that would have been perfect time for her to say "motherfucker." Would have been like totally on board.
Well, does Jadzia or Kira, either one, speak English? Or are they speaking like Trill language and Bajoran language and just being translated to each other?
Ah, yes. What if they actually took? This would never happen. But if they took the hard line, realistic approach to Star Trek with no sound in space, every time almost anybody's speaking, it's almost never English, and it's subtitled.
I just assume we're hearing it through the Universal Translator.
Me too. Yeah. Somebody asked me. I don't know if it was my mother or my sister back, and it's like, why does everybody speak English? Like, why do you care for one thing? But no, it's like it's a universal translator. I learned that from actually Star Trek 6, for whatever reason.
Oh yeah.
It was the first time it clicked. I'm like, oh, because he's in the prison and he doesn't have his translator. He can't understand. Oh, okay.
Yeah, they make a big deal about the Universal Translator in the Enterprise episode Metamorphosis with Zephram Cochrane. But yeah, these dudes. See, that's why I say like they Home Alone the station. They like set up like booby traps, like they're in Home Alone. They get these Bajorans captured in the Hollow Suite.
That guy's like, them freaking kids. That actor.
The guy who plays the general.
Oh, Steven Weber. Yeah, he he was in a sitcom called Wings. He also played Jack Torrance in the Shining miniseries.
Oh yeah. I remember that. Came out in like '96 or '97.
Yeah, something like that.
So shortly after this.
He was also in Single White Female, which I remember seeing as a kid and being very disturbed by it. Because he spoiler alert, he dies with a stiletto in his eye or something like that. I always remember him that way, like in that movie, being dead with the shoe in his eye. I have messed up memories of movies I shouldn't have seen when I was a child. Well, I can't believe they're killing Kira off.
Yeah.
Never
Well,
gonna make
she
it.
was gonna. She had already been kicked off the station. So, what else were they gonna do with her?
It, we could hear what those guys were saying. Meet with the other team. Blah blah blah. But in the subtitles, it says indistinct chatter.
Yeah, that's funny when that happens.
It's like barely audible chatter. No use in trying to type it out.
On Star Trek Prodigy recently, I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it, but there is a holographic recording of something. You hear a character talking about like, "Oh no, like this is happening," and you don't make out everything that he's saying, and the subtitles don't give you any help. But then in lower decks, when Shax is like talking about going onto the Black Mountain where you have to fight your dad in the spirit realm or whatever, he starts talking about like all this insane stuff that you can't
Yeah.
really make out. But the subtitles show it all to you, and I think a lot of that stuff is like so wacky. They didn't think anyone would actually be able to hear it, but whoever was doing the subtitles, I guess, had access to the script and they were able to put it all in there.
Yeah, I
Uh,
remember that. Yeah, it's the scene where he's on the elevator with Rutherford, right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, but then when something kind of similar like that, where we can't really understand the dialogue, and I think the audience isn't meant to understand all of it verbatim. But yeah, when something kind of like that happened on Prodigy, they just didn't put it in the subtitles, so it's inconsistent. Probably like different people, different teams doing it. I don't know, but
I am a robot. He could have played a good android. No joke.
well, he also
Or
plays a good
Vulcan.
Dracula in Monster Squad. So there are two Draculas in the Circle trilogy. At least two.
Wow.
Someone else might have done it.
All you needed was Christopher Lee and Bela Lugosi. Oh well, he probably wasn't alive at this point.
Yeah, I think he had already passed on to the great beyond.
Do you remember in the first episode? I think no, it was the second part of this, where she saw a vision of Jadzia in these like exact clothes. I think.
Yeah, yeah, those orb visions when
But the only thing
you're
is, in that vision,
communicating with the
she didn't have
prophets.
the nose.
Yeah, no, it's not like an exact image.
Ooh, burn. I think. Isn't that a constant in all? That should be a constant in every humanoid species. Like, don't fucking say shit about my mom.
Yeah, could you imagine seeing Quark or Doctor Bashir again? They'd both be pretty good characters to bring back. At least do one of them in animation. Just put the actor in the booth. If they did that, they'd have to give Armin Shimmerman the Ferengi teeth though to really make him sound like Quark again.
Well, I think that's a great way to bring back legacy actors who are like in their 70s, some in their 80s, and give them parts like where they've aged in real time in the animation, but make it like adults, more not like Prodigy or Lower Decks, but just kind of like Invincible, that kind of animation where it's
Yeah, I would actually
realistic but it's sharp.
I would like that something like that style, but I think like and do something like a little bit more serious and more actiony. But I think like a good place to do that would be the Earth Romulan War back in the
Oh
the
yeah.
22nd century, because then we could actually see that. And I wouldn't just make it be like the Enterprise characters. Like I wouldn't just have it set on the NX-01 Enterprise with Archer, T'Pol, and Trip and all of them. But you would be able to use those characters if you wanted to, and just have them come in and do the voice work.
Yeah. It would be a step up for them, from the sitting in the chair for hours and hours. He's so calm and cool now. This is where the one part where I like Vedic Win, or not. She's not Vedic yet, is she? No. Is she
Yeah,
yet?
she's Vedic now. She'll eventually
Okay,
become
yeah, yeah.
Kai, but not to
Oh
be
yeah,
confused
yeah.
with Cobra
Kai, I meant
Kai.
to say. I was getting confused.
Cobra Kai Wen.
Cobra Kai Win.
But yeah, she turns on Dracula pretty quick.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I mean that's who she is. I like that on Discovery now we have President Rillick, who's part Bajoran and part Cardassian. Sometimes she kind of feels like that political, kind of a snake. She's definitely a much more noble person, but she's still kind of the
She looks like a literal snake woman,
yeah.
and she has a. I don't know if anybody else noticed. I don't know if she is Canadian or not, but she sounds Canadian.
I'm almost certain she is because almost every guest star on Star Trek Discovery is Canadian.
Guy who plays Tarka is from Newfoundland. It's
Yeah, he was in The
interesting to see a
Expanse
Newfoundlander
also.
as a villain on Star Trek. Like, I don't know if he's a villain. I'm suspecting he is.
Yeah, very suspicious character. Also, Tarina, the Navarre president, she's a Canadian. Tara Roslin, I believe is her name.
Oh yeah, okay.
Margot Kidder's niece, who played Osira, she's Canadian. Detmer's Canadian. Owasakun's Canadian. Reese, Bryce, Dr. Pollard, all Canadians.
Oh,
And
the
then Linalis.
self-sacrifice.
Yeah, he was. The thing is that he could have been like this perfect hero. Like he's genuinely a good-hearted person, but he was so good. He put his life on the line.
He's dead, Jim. Okay, not yet.
Well, but
There
even in
didn't seem
death,
to be
he's
much
like,
urgency, like a medical emergency being. Well, I suppose they couldn't. There was nothing they could do. But it's like, let's just watch him die. I mean, that disruptor was probably like disintegrating his insides.
but that look on Bashir's face is like, yeah, he's. There's nothing we can do.
Oh, that's a good line. I like that. I don't blame you, love. It's very serious, though, isn't it? It's like so. It's so deadly serious and silly science fiction, but as long as you make it like that, you make it work and you make it compelling. Like you can just suspend all disbelief, just totally buy it.
Yeah, I like Cisco's opinion and on how history should be written right there.
Yep.
But yeah, it's funny. This episode ends with everyone coming back to the station, and then the next episode opens with the station's been evacuated again. I kind of wish they just would have made it be like the same evacuation, like they just haven't returned yet.
Yeah.
But that's a story for another day, I believe.
Well, that was a great three-parter. Ended so well. Like it was, why can't they write? Well, I mean, a lot of shows are well written nowadays, but too many of them aren't. And like back in the day, they just knew how to like formulate a story. And of course, this story was like big enough for 3 episodes, and they did it well. It was a good beginning, middle, and end. And the bad guys got their comeuppance, and I liked something that Vedic Wynn did when she turned against Dracula. All right. Has yours ended now? Paramount Plus just okay. Mine is longer because of those.
Mine is
weird,
ended now.
Yeah, mine has those weird Netflix like international credits.
Yeah. You called that. You knew that was coming.
Alrighty then, Fatheree. Thank you so much for joining me. If you ever want to continue doing DS9 commentaries, just let me know. I'm sure the massive audience that I have will love it, and I really love this show, and I like rewatching it with other people, which is something I had never really done besides like a girlfriend I had back in 2002. She was like the only other human being I've ever watched Star Trek with. But until next time, we're at 47 minutes. Okay, we're good. We made it.
Yay!
Check Fatheree's channel out. Text Trek is the best coverage of each new episode of Star Trek that exists, and hopefully Picard doesn't overlap and it gets pushed.
We'll find out really soon. We'll know in a couple of weeks exactly when Picard's coming out.
Alrighty then. And on that note, until next time, live long and prosper.